Okay, please be seated so we can begin the board meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone present today and those watching the broadcast and call the July 24th, 2018 regular meeting to order with all board members present. Mr. Evans is on his way in now. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated. If you wish to address the board on any of the agenda items before the board today, or on a subject that is not on today's agenda, and your name is not already on the speaker list printed on blue paper located at both entrances to the auditorium, and you've not already submitted a request for public testimony form, please complete the form and submit it to Marty Stoltz, the Board Action Officer. Speaker forms are located at both entrances to the auditorium. I'd like a motion to adopt today's agenda with Section J, Superintendent's Consent Agenda, to be considered next following the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Please vote. Please vote. That motion carries 5-0. At this point in time, I'd like to, it gives me great pride and honor to introduce Councilmember Georgette Gomez, who wishes to speak to the board regarding the joint use agreement with the City of San Diego for natural turf field, walkways, and recreational facilities at Harriet Tubman Charter School, which is item J28. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Well, thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you, specifically supporting this particular joint use venture. I know that the city and the school district has a goal to do more of these, but just a little bit of background. This project actually was raised when I was in the campaign trail, and one of the things that really stuck to me was the fact that the community was wanted this park in this particular community college area because it's park deficiency, as you all know, as many of our communities south of the 8. But they've been working on this project since the 70s. So I made it my mission to really, if succeeded in the campaign, that I was going to really push for this to come into fruition. And we definitely, as soon as we got there, we contacted the school administration, your staff, and they've been extremely supportive of the project. So I don't know what happened before, but I have to say that your staff has been amazing and really getting us to this point. So I really want to acknowledge Lee particularly for being extremely committed and making sure that we were able to work the details, the legal aspect of it, the details of it. Now we're in design phase, but this is exciting. So it gives me really great pleasure to be here and really thank your leadership as well in terms of making sure that we're moving something positive to the community forward. So I won't take too much of your time. I just want to express my gratitude. This is a good thing for our communities, a great thing for the partnership that we have as a city of San Diego with the school district, and I know that we'll continue doing more, but we're doing something that is extremely beneficial for our community that, like I said, has been working on this for quite a while. So I really want to thank you. I want to thank the members and your staff. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gomez. And now we'll take up the consideration for the superintendent's consent agenda, Section J.
I was going to speak on items on J.
Oh, okay. Hold on one moment, ma'am. Are there any speaker slips for the consent calendar that have been submitted?
Yes.
just need to know which items they were.
Items J24, J48, and J49.
J24, J48, and J49. 49. Okay, thank you very much. So then, is there a motion to move the consent calendar with the exception of item J24, 48, and 49, which will be considered at the end of the meeting? So moved. We have a motion. Is there a second? And a second. Please vote.
Yeah, Kevin, in addition, there's one more that was just handed to me, J28. J28 also.
Okay, and
Sir, do I get to speak?
okay. No, we'll consider the consent agenda items pulled, and then they'll be taken up at the end of the board meeting. Thank you, ma'am.
But she got to speak, and that was Jay.
And J28. I'm sorry, ma'am. You're out of order. Okay, can we have a friendly amendment to the motion to take up item J28 at the end of the meeting as well?
So move.
We have a motion. Well, the maker of the motion agrees to the friendly amendment. The second agrees to the second of the friendly amendment. Please vote. And that motion carries 5-0. The other consent agenda items will be taken up at the end of the meeting. Now we move on to Section C, Student Presentations, Recognitions, and Resolutions. The resolution in support of the board's commitment to preserve and repurpose certain properties on the Normal Street campus. Is there a motion to approve item C1? We have a motion, and I'd be happy to second that item. Do we have speakers on item C1? We do. Let's begin with Kristen Harms. You have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Harms. I'm chair of the Community Coalition of University Heights. And on behalf of the coalition, I'd like to let you know that we wholeheartedly support the proposed resolution. I would like to thank both President Beiser and member Richard Barrera for their leadership and support of this innovative proposal. We very much appreciate your open-mindedness and willingness to work collaboratively with the community and the City of San Diego to create a joint use project that benefits students and neighborhood families, reduces energy costs, and potentially generates revenue for the district. So with approval of this resolution, we commit to urging community support of the proposed bond measure and very much look forward to continuing our collaboration as part of the district visioning task force for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Ernestine Bond. And following Ernestine will be Amy Hayes.
Good evening, Board Trustees and Superintendent Martin. As a member of the Community Coalition of University Heights, I am fully in support of the proposed resolution and project recommendations to be added to the forthcoming school bond. Community members have spent 21 years reaching this moment in time to achieve their goals, but we need your vote to make that happen. To quote Alice Burney, Congress of Mothers founder, later the PTA, "Let us have no more croaking about what cannot be done. Let us see what can be done. See that it is done." Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Hayes, and then following Amy will be Christopher Milnes.
Hello, board members. Amy Hayes. I'm speaking on behalf of Save Our Heritage organization this afternoon. SOHO appreciates that this resolution has been put on the board's agenda today, and we strongly support the resolution, which promotes the restoration and adaptive reuse of the Teachers Training Annex as a teachers training facility and potential joint use library or community education facility to support teachers, students, and the neighborhood. SOHO also strongly supports the adaptive reuse of the Alice Burney Kindergarten building as a community resource resource facility for joint use to support both students and neighborhood families as well. The adaptive reuse of these two buildings and opportunity for other buildings on this site is a sustainable solution that serves a joint purpose, addressing needs of both the school district and the community. This solution also preserves the very important Irving Gill building, which plays a significant role in the educational history of the school district, University Heights, and the broader San Diego region. Thank you, and please support this resolution today.
Thank you. Christopher Milnes, and then following Christopher will be Mary Lou Ruane.
Hi, my name is Christopher Milnes, and I'm a member of the University Heights Library Task Force. And I'd like to register my support for item C1, a resolution to preserve and repurpose certain properties on the Normal Street campus. Your support for this resolution means a fantastic opportunity to adaptively reuse the historic Teachers Training Annex number 1 as a teachers training facility and potential joint use library. Your support for this resolution means an opportunity to adaptively reuse the historic Alice Burney Kindergarten Building Annex 2. Your support for this resolution reaffirms the deep historic connection our community has with this education site. In fact, the original developer, the College Hill Land Association, used the idea of an education complex to promote University Heights. Unpack this resolution and you see that we have history, we have education, we have community, a perfect package of positive forces. And of course, we appreciate your support for this perfect package of positives. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mary Lou Ruane, and then following Mary Lou will be Citizen.
Good evening. My name is Mary Lou Ruane. Our home is 4 blocks from here, and we've lived here for 50 years. Quite a few years ago, I retired from the district after 26 years as a classified employee, 22 of them in this building, followed by 5 years as a registrar at 2 different high schools. The student population has changed greatly over these years, and the goal to bring a future to the students that you serve is a constant challenge. High school graduation used to be a wonderful end that led to a future upon employment and adults' lifestyle. But what has developed is that the perception to succeed has to include many more years of schooling. Why is that so? Perhaps that is why so many do not keep moving to graduation and do not perceive that that diploma is open to them a new world of personal success. Is it no wonder that teachers today have a need to be exposed to and receive training beyond their college studies? This Ed Center property can become a center for the business of the district, a training center for the teachers, and an outstanding collaborative joint use addition to San Diego and this community. I wish you success in the challenges you have facing you for the students of San Diego and for University where this property exists. Thank you.
Thank you. Citizen, and then following her will be Ronald Johnston.
I oppose this money grab that, one more time, Richard Barrera is putting on the backs of people. This proposal doesn't show how much this is going to cost, and that's irresponsible. This is premature, and you should vote it down. We have bond measures right now, and you're going to continue to sell bonds for 5, 10, 15 decades yet. And we do not know what that's actually going to cost. And it's not going to be my generation. It's going to be the next generation that's paying these property taxes. On top of the thousands they pay now, you say we're just going to add a few hundred. But it's 1,000, and then 100 more, and then 300 more. And you really don't know what you're going to impose on the people. This particular item doesn't even have a cost associated with it. So why are you doing this right now? It seems to me it's some political game that I'm not sure is going on. But there are people that are in this little game, and there are others that aren't. Because I watched the Point Loma people have projects rammed down their throats. I've watched the Claremont people have projects rammed down their throats. The Talmadge people had projects rammed down their throats. And then all of a sudden, there's this group that's going to help you guys pass another tax on top of our kids. I don't understand it, but I smell a rat.
Ron Johnson. And then after Ron will be Dave or David
Last time I was here,
Hamra.
as you recall, I offered to sing, and everybody stood up. Go ahead. Yeah, well, it didn't happen. I'm not going to do it today. But I'd like to thank all of you for your support of the school and the school district, and especially this upcoming bond issue. I don't know who the underwriter is. I think they're represented here today. But the importance of the amendment and resolution that has been proposed by the Community Coalition, I think is vitally important for the preservation of the property and the maximum use of the property on behalf of and for the benefit of the students at Boerne, the community at large, and the school district and the school board. And I think it's vital that this bond issue passes with the resolution that we have, or they have proposed. And our organization, which is, I'm the chair of the University Heights Library Task Force, and we are fully in support of this measure as well. Thank you very much for the time, and I'll sing next time.
Thank you, Ron. Next is David Hamra, and then after David will be Bill Ellig.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak. I wanted to state my support on behalf of the Community Coalition of University Heights, and I urge the Board of Education to approve the resolution in support of the board's commitment to preserve and reuse the certain properties on Normal Street and to support the students and neighborhood's families. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Ellig. And then following Bill will be Marcia Baruda.
Good evening, President Breiser, Mr. Barrera, fellow trustees. My name is Bill Ellig, University Heights resident. I'm also a coalition participant. I want to express my support for the resolution before you this afternoon. It focuses on the adaptive reuse of the Teachers Training Annex and outdoor learning and green space to be used by students and other neighborhood families. It will establish creative revenue sources that will offset maintenance and utility costs. The University Heights community looks forward to working with the superintendent to create additional revenue sources and to fulfill the purpose of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Marcia Baruta.
Good evening. I've lived in this neighborhood as a renter for 44 years, and I strongly urge the board to approve this resolution. I have many good memories associated with this site, and particularly its role in the community. In the 1990s, I would drive past the lighted ball field at Park and Mead and see people playing baseball and sitting in the bleachers, and it was just a picture of community in the summertime. When the district closed the ball field, I got involved with the University Heights Recreation Council and chaired the council for 15 years. During that time, we started the Boerne School Garden and developed the Boerne Joint Use Willie Serrano Field on the former ball field. These two projects provide both educational and community benefit and are examples of what can be done with this historical site. I won't go on about my love for the trees and the views and my memories of working at the Ed Center across the street from my apartment, which was a perfect commute. But I'll just say I can still see the treetops and the roof of Annex 1 from my senior housing on Park Boulevard, and I look forward to seeing it benefit students and communities for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Board member comments or questions? Trustee Barrera.
Thank you, President Breiser. First of all, thank you to everybody from the University Heights communities, not only here tonight, but as I heard Councilmember Gomez talk about the joint use at Tubman, 21 years in the making. You guys have been at it for twice as long, in trying to not only preserve our history, but to repurpose, these buildings so that they again can be a center of community and a center of education, here throughout San Diego. We have a really incredible opportunity to come together as a community and to, again, as I think Chris said, not only preserve our history, but in the process, create a new set of opportunities for future generations. I know Superintendent Martin and I have talked about the superintendent's vision of the normal school going back to its purpose as a training center for educators in our community that will have lasting impact on future generations. But just as we are here tonight and have put together a resolution that's the product of collaboration between the community and the district, I really appreciate, the commitment of many stakeholders in University Heights to come forward with us as the superintendent puts the task force together that's called for in this resolution, and to work at really visioning what we can do, with these properties, provided that we have the resources to do so, which we hope that we can, that will be provided for through passage of the bond measure. So this is a collaboration that I think will get stronger as we work together over the next period of time, and the result will be something that I think we can all be proud of as something that we leave behind to future generations, just as past generations of San Diegans left us with these incredibly important community assets.
Dr. Evans?
Yeah, I want to thank the people who came and spoke, and this is very in line with our whole plan of Vision 2020 for quality schools in every neighborhood and having neighborhood learning centers that combining community and school resources together. It's also part of what we're doing across the city in terms of partnering with the City of San Diego Parks and Recreation Department, so that we have, we're utilizing the taxpayer resources to the greatest advantage of both the city and the school district. But this is a great example of all of the community, not just the children and parents, but everybody who lives in the community cooperating together to make this possible. So thank you very much to both of the board members, Barrera and Beiser, for putting this forward.
Any other board member comments or questions?
Just one comment.
Okay, Dr. Whitehurst Payne.
I want to thank you all for the history lesson, bringing it back to the 1800s, long, long time ago. And I, too, want to thank Councilwoman for supporting this, and for the others, community people getting involved in this. That's how we make our community better, when we all work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, please vote. Okay, that item passes 5-0. Thank you very much. At this point in time, we'll move on to non-agenda public testimony. Are there non-agenda public testimony speaker slips? Okay, the board sets aside 30 minutes at the beginning of the meeting for non-agenda public testimony. Based on how many speaker slips, that determines how much time every person gets, so that we make sure we hear from everybody. If we only have a few speakers, then that's usually 3 minutes each. It seems that we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, it looks like we have quite a few, so let's just have each speaker have 2 minutes time to speak. Let's begin with the people that already submitted their non-agenda public testimony requests online. Francine Maxwell, followed by Citizen. You have 2 minutes.
Francine Maxwell. Martin Luther King said, "He who accepts evil without protesting against it, really cooperating with it." I say that to say that everything that's done in the dark comes out in the light. This school board trustees made a big to-do when your one employee was hurt on a motorized scooter. The situation surrounding her being hurt by that motorized scooter, it will come out. And then I want to see everybody rally against what really took place, because I don't think that everybody could have had an escort to the hospital by a sheriff. That is my personal friend that I partied with all night. And so I say that to say that you continually dig us in a bigger hole when it comes to your one employee, and you not taking off your blinders when it comes to her lack of integrity, lack of morals. She has shown us by the Green Elementary and her testimony and her deposition. You can go to page 14 in her deposition for the Green Elementary lawsuit. Yes, we happen to have it not find this district liable as it should. Those citizens, they didn't see what all of us see because we don't have on blinders for quality assurance. And I do believe that you're slated to give quality assurance a raise, and that's more than just laughable. You are putting our children in danger when you continually have these people in these high positions that wield a lot of power for cover-up. San Diego Unified is being held as a detriment to children's safety. We're pushing a new bond measure so that we can get new cameras, we can get new fencing and new locks. But you know what's happening in our campuses that are being covered up through quality assurance. You know this, because the parents are seeing you when you're out at your restaurants in your leisure time, when you come to the community for a rally or agenda items.
Thank you. Citizen, followed by Frederick DeWitt.
The board should not be asking for another bond measure when it still has hundreds of millions of dollars left. Current bonds still have about $2 billion and 2 decades, and you should be waiting another 10 years before you put another bond on our backs. This is a political ploy, just like the $30 million that was given to the city of San Diego for the library. And what do we get? We get a 40-year lease. At the end of the 40-year lease, we have $30 million that this generation and the next generation will have to pay on their property taxes, but we have nothing to show for it. Those are the kinds of decisions that this board has made. It fails to tell the voters that because there are still more bonds to be sold on the existing bonds that have been approved, Prop MM, Prop S, and Prop Z, how much is that going to increase property taxes before you're finished selling those bonds? It's a list of probably 24 bonds on our property taxes, and that raises rental rates as well, because the property owners that own apartments have to pass that cost on to the renters. And this market is very, very difficult. So the worker people that Barrera proclaims to represent, they're the ones that suffer and get hit by additional taxes, because that's what it is. They have millions and millions and millions of dollars still left on the table, and they're asking the taxpayers for millions more. And voters need to question that and ask why.
Frederick DeWitt. Now let's move on to Alejandra Zuniga. You have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, my name is Alejandra Zuniga. I'm an upcoming 8th grader at the Language Academy. When I was in 3rd grade, I was placed in a combo class. I would like to tell you a little bit about my experience today. To start, let me remind you that in 3rd grade at our school, that is the year where we are taught a little bit about the English language before we transition into 4th grade, where we are taught English in more depth. In my class, there was about 8 3rd graders, including myself. The 7th, 3rd graders and I skipped our whole introduction of 3rd grade, which was our English introduction. Why? Because what happened was, in the mornings, we would go to another 3rd grade class to learn the math and science portion in the 3rd grade level. However, everything else, including English, was taught at 4th grade level. This affected us. It affected me. I struggled to keep up, and I struggled to learn the English language. Now you guys want to do the same to the 4th and 5th grade students. I really believe this will be detrimental to their success, because 4th grade is a very important year where we start learning English in more depth. It's a 50% target language and 50% English. My brother is an upcoming 4th grader, and I am very concerned to how this will affect him. He was recently diagnosed with ADHD, which already makes it very hard for him to focus in class. In addition, now, if he were placed in a combo class, which is a 50% chance, it would affect him even more. When I found out that we were losing our 2 teachers, I was very disappointed. I wished I could do something because it made me so sad and angry. But I soon realized that the final decision is up to you to make, not us. We are gathered here as parents, teachers, and students. We make up our school community, and we know what's best for it. So we urge you to listen to us and do what is right. Give us our 2 teachers. Thank you.
Olivia Zuniga. You have 2 minutes.
Hello, board members. My name is Olivia Zuniga. You heard my daughter Alejandra speak about losing our 2 teachers for the next school year, and about her experience of being in a combo class. My older daughter is currently in high school. She graduated from Language Academy and was reclassified from an English learner to an English student in 3rd grade. However, I'm here today to talk to you about my son Diego, who was diagnosed with ADHD recently and who will be directly affected because he's an upcoming 4th grader by the cut with our teachers. He is either going to be placed in a classroom with more than 35 students or in a combo class of 4th and 5th graders. I worry about his success. I know that my daughters were successful during a time when Language Academy had resource teachers for the French program, for the Spanish program. We had a full-time librarian. We had a full-time counselor. We don't have those things anymore. And on top of that, my child is going to be sitting in a class with 35 plus students. I urge you to please give us our teachers, to let us begin the school year with the number of teachers that we need. I want my son to have the same level of education that my daughters did so that he can succeed like they did.
Olivia Moffett.
The Language Academy is an atypical program with 3 schools on 1 campus. It's the district's responsibility to differentiate us as such, which means we need our 2 dual immersion, culturally diverse teachers back now. We are a unified group of parents, guardians, teachers, staff, San Diego Unified employees, educators, media, and registered voters. I leave you with a document to further outline our cause, as well as a petition signed by 612 registered voters, including voluntary comments on why this issue is so important to your constituents and the community. Passivity now will only fuel the mounting storm that will hit in September. The Language Academy enrollment projections and the conservative district figures are not that far off. The district is willing to take a considerable risk by accessing our teachers now without confirmed numbers purely for financial gain and in complete opposition to the 1819 LCAP, SD Unified's Vision 2020, and the California Global 2030 Initiative. We are asking that you instead empower and champion our highly successful immersion school, which you boast in words only, as a model to be recognized and replicated. However the enrollment numbers shake out, over or slightly under 35 students per classroom, kids will have suffered through 3 grueling weeks of fast-paced, multilingual curriculum, and they'll be forced to endure noisy, crowded classrooms taught by overburdened teachers. Grievances will be filed, and the problem will remain unsolved. We want to write a much better story for San Diego Unified, one that shows how you not only fully support and invest in your existing immersion schools, but you embolden and have established a solid best practices foundation. If the Language Academy is formally recognized as 3 schools on 1 campus, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Camden Moffett.
Hola, mi nombre es Camden Moffett y estoy en el programa de español en The Language Academy. Estamos aquí otra vez para hablar sobre la escuela y los maestros que nosotros admiramos. Por favor, guarde a nuestros maestros y mantenga un tamaño de clase más bajo. Es importante que sepa que las clases de español y francés están separadas. Los maestros de español no enseñan a ningún estudiante francés. 35 niños son muchas para encajar en nuestras clases pequeñas. Me preocupa no aprender cuando hay mucho ruido y mucha gente. Me preocupa no tener tiempo para conocer a mis maestras o hacer que me ayuden. Si espera hasta septiembre para arreglar esto, ya habremos perdido a 2 excelentes maestros. Por favor, haga esto bien para los maestros y estudiantes en The Language Academy. Gracias.
Jennifer Barajas.
Hi. The Language Academy is an atypical program with 3 schools on 1 campus, which means we need our 2 dual immersion, culturally diverse teachers back now. I'm a parent with 2 children. They both have had Senora Perez and Mr. Johnson. Our 5th grade teacher, Mr. Johnson, is an invaluable teacher at the Language Academy. He has the ability to inspire his students by teaching with deep, meaningful, and creative ways to suit each child, and that is everything a parent could hope for in their child's academic success. Mr. Johnson has greatly engaged students across our programs and grade levels through media technology, helping us create a school cultural identity that cannot be replaced. Besides these relevant points in keeping Mr. Johnson at the Language Academy, it's so disappointing that we are losing our only black male teacher at our school. Language Academy is built upon and promotes cultural diversity in its programs. To the many, many black children at the Language Academy in both programs, Mr. Johnson is a positive black male role model who shares their ethnicity. He is one of maybe 3 black faculty and staff members that the students see on campus. It's heartbreaking to see black representation on campus fall short. In this case, where we are faced with losing teachers every year using a formula that isn't designed for our 3 programs, will we ever have a black teacher for long? Black representation on our campus matters. Our 4th grade teacher, Senora Perez, has worked tirelessly at the Language Academy to help establish structures for struggling English learners. She helped design a program called Power Hour, an effective reading intervention structure where students who are identified with reading gaps are provided with a double dose of small group instruction. A testament to her commitment to the dual immersion model, she's been a presenter at several dual immersion national conferences, specifically sharing her expertise and grade level experience to new dual immersion teachers. Notably, she presented at CABE, the National Association for Two-Way Dual Immersion Educators.
Thank you. Carla Redlings.
The Language Academy is an atypical program with 3 schools on 1 campus, which means we need our 2 dual immersion, culturally diverse teachers back now. In San Diego Unified's Vision 2020, you state that the Board of Education will hold itself responsible for preparing our students for the competitive global economy, striving for a high level of confidence in our public schools, developing a world-class school system for all of our students, and as it most immediately addresses our cause today, you have said that the San Diego Unified District will ensure effective teaching in the classroom. Surely powerful relationships cannot be forged and cultivated in classrooms of around 35 students each. Should the district have to hire 1 additional teacher to avoid violating teacher union caps, all the classrooms will be completely disrupted by reshuffling or revised block schedules a month into the school year. Surely effective teaching standards cannot be met when overburdened teachers will need to maintain crowd control and diffuse behavior issues in a space-limited classroom. Ignoring diagnosed learning disabilities and having to sacrifice adequate individualized instruction, emotional support, and supervision to all 35 students while teaching in 2 languages with no aides or assistants and no resource teacher for support. If the decision to access our 2 teachers is not overturned now, our students will go at least a month being denied the ability to build community with their teacher and their peers, and most importantly, they are being denied effective teaching in the classroom, which will heavily impact their ability to learn. Equality is not equity. What's equal is not always fair, and what's fair is not always equal. Our school is not like any other elementary school, so it should not be budgeted or allocated teachers like any other elementary school. Our French program and our Spanish programs are separate. 1 additional teacher if we are over the 35 cap after 30 days will not solve our problem. You will have grievances filed by the Language Academy staff in our highly successful immersion model. We shouldn't have to choose which language track. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaylin Bernardo.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Kaylin Bernardo et je suis en 6e année dans le programme français à l'école Language Academy. Nous sommes là de nouveau pour parler au sujet de l'école de les deux maîtresses exceptionnelles, Mr. Johnson et Señora Perez, qui nous sont indispensables. S'il vous plaît, laissez-nous les mettre dont on mérite avec le nombre d'élèves impliqués qui maintiendront la taille de classe pour garantir la qualité de nos deux programmes. C'est important que vous sachiez que les classes du programme français et les classes du programme espagnol sont séparées. Les maîtresses françaises ne peuvent pas enseigner les élèves du programme espagnol et 35 élèves sont beaucoup trop dans la salle de classe. J'ai peur que nous, les enfants, n'allons rien apprendre car il y aura beaucoup de distractions et problèmes de comportement. Cela va compromettre la qualité des deux programmes dans une école qui est considérée un bijou de la communication scolaire. Attendre jusqu'à la 3e semaine de septembre pour attendre que nous avons besoin effectivement de ces deux maîtres n'est pas une solution et c'est paraît trop tard puisque les deux super maîtresses seront déjà parties à d'autres écoles. S'il vous plaît, protégez la qualité de nos deux programmes à Language Academy. Donnez-nous le soutien dont nous mériterons tous. Merci et bonsoir.
Thank you. Fatine Ayadi Morales.
Good afternoon. My name is Fatina Ayadi Morales, and I'm a parent at the Language Academy. I have 2 children in the Spanish program, an incoming 6th grader and an incoming 4th grader. I have also taught at this school for 16 years and can't imagine working anywhere else. I've also had the unfortunate experience of teaching a 4-5 combo about 10 years ago, and believe me when I say it does not work. I'm here today to represent a one-of-a-kind school, an atypical K-8 school comprised of 3 programs on 1 campus. I am asking for our 2 excess teachers back, Mr. Johnson and Señora Perez, 2 dual immersion and culturally diverse educators back now. I'd like to remind the board of the mission statement of California Global 2030, to equip students with world language skills, to better appreciate and more fully engage with the rich and diverse mixtures of cultures, heritages, and languages found in California and the world, while also preparing them to succeed in the global economy. Moreover, San Diego Unified School District's LCAP for 2018-2019, for which you will be accountable for, states, the Language Academy is to be used as a model for more immersion schools. The LCAP addresses the needs of all students, including specific student groups, and all districts must specifically address English learners and low-income students. The district has recognized class size for ELs is important and must be mindful of their recommendation of 32-to-1 ratio for grades 4 through 6. In addition, the LCAP must address the state of California's 2 priority areas, academic achievement and school climate, which will be negatively affected by the large class sizes of 35 and over. California voters have approved Proposition 58 and demand a call to action. But your inactions have undercut and inadequately funded us, and now your GEM model is unstable. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our non-agenda public testimony. Now we move on to Section E of the board report. Report on closed session items. Are there any reportable actions to report out for closed session at this time? Ms. Green?
Yes, thank you, President Beiser. In closed session, the board voted 5-0 to extend the general counsel's contract to 2022, consistent with the superintendent's contract.
Thank you. Item E2 is the information report, administrative assignments. Superintendent Martin, please report out administrative assignments.
Thank you, President Beiser. The administrative assignments are Vice Principal for Elementary and K-8 Support, Cheryl Pham, Mary Wood Roy, and Olivia Noriega. Program Manager for Secondary Teaching and Learning, assigned to Integrated Multi-Tier Systems of Support, is Jennifer Hoogerhide. Program Manager, Secondary Teaching and Learning, assigned to Youth Advocacy, is Candace Fee. Human Resources Officer, Josue Diaz Jr., and Controller, Jody Macalos.
Thank you. Now we move on to item E3 on the agenda, which is the Superintendent Information Report.
Thank you, President Beiser. I don't actually have a report tonight, I just have a thank you. As many of you know, yesterday morning, my sister Laura Casey died in her sleep. She was a graduate of San Diego Unified. Laura graduated from Crawford High School and then Humboldt State University before being diagnosed with a serious and profound mental illness. It was the long-term and successful treatment for her mental illness was the illness that ultimately led to her passing. Maya Angelou said, being someone's sister is more than having the same parents. It's something you have to work at. Although Laura's mental illness sometimes made that work hard, Laura made it rewarding. I could not have wished for a more tender or loving sister. So tonight, I wanted to share my gratitude for the 48 years that I had with my sister and for all the kind messages and calls that my mother, Fern Siegel, and I have received from so many of you in our community. Just as our work together will go on, the important, vital work around mental illness in this community, the work that's being done at the Chesed Home, will also go on and led by Hope Village of San Diego. That is the Jewish home for the mentally ill that my mother founded to share what she learned as a mother in coping with her daughter, my sister's mental illness. In Hebrew, Chesed means loving kindness. This is something I've learned from my family and my community. Kindness is something that I value very much. So tonight, my mother and I would like to thank all of you for your support and your kindness during this time of our family's great loss.
Thank you, Cindy. Great. Now we move on to board information reports. We'd like to begin with Dr. Evans, please.
Thank you, and all the board certainly send our condolences to you and your mother and your son and all of your family, and also an appreciation for all the work that your mother and everyone else has done for the benefit of the mentally ill. It's very important. And now we're in an issue of transition, and so Ms. Stoltz is here now, and one of the rules we've set for ourselves is 2 minutes for each board member. However, I've gotten the permission from the board president to suspend that right now for the first time. So we have here a plaque and a proclamation regarding the person to my right, Cheryl Ward, who has been a constant servant of this district for many, many years. And first, I'd just like to read the proclamation, and then we can each make some comments. In recognition, a proclamation in recognition of Director of Board Services Cheryl Ward for her service to the San Diego Unified School District. Whereas Cheryl Ward has provided 42 years of loyal and dedicated service to the San Diego Unified School District that began in 1976. What were you all doing in 1976? When she was hired in San Diego Unified as a Secretary 1, and whereas her passion for the children of San Diego is evident through her service to the district as a confidential Secretary 1, Secretary 2, Legal Secretary 1 and 2, Recording Secretary, and Manager of Parent and Board Services. And whereas she leaves behind a proud legacy of 20 years of service as Director of Board Services to the Board of Education and the San Diego community, which is direct reflection of her leadership and innovation. And whereas Cheryl has exhibited unwavering professionalism with the utmost respect in a variety of controversial situations with district staff, parents, community members, and board members, very professional and very controversial situations. Whereas Cheryl Ward is truly an inspiration for all who work in public service, now therefore be it proclaimed that the San Diego Unified School District Board of Education recognizes Director of Board Services Cheryl Ward for her commitment to public education and the San Diego community. And we are presenting this proclamation by this current board, but it's really as a part of all of the boards of education and all the many decades of district staff who have benefited from your service. There are very few people in any organization that come close to doing what Cheryl has done in terms of the variety of working with constituents, working with parents, working with a variety of staff, but most especially working with a variety of boards of education and a variety of Board of Education members and personalities of all types, which we won't go into right here. So, it's just really hard to see that you are leaving this position at this time, but we just want to extend our profound thanks for all that you have done for us and for the district on a very personal and professional level.
Thank you.
And if we could,
Do we have a motion?
This is so moved.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, that passes 5-0.
Could you take a picture with Ms. Ward?
And now that she's crying, we want to take a picture with you.
Sorry. Okay, send that to Cheryl. Normally, I would ask Ms. Ward to write our proclamations and resolutions, so we had to be a little sneaky about this one.
All right, so we are in, technically we are in board information report mode on the agenda, but I think that John did a phenomenal job of eloquently saying what we all feel and what's on our hearts and our minds. So thank you. All right, next board information report, Dr. Whitehurst Payne.
I just want to say thank you also, because I've been here longer than you, but it seems like you've been here like a fixture, a glue, a quiet, solid, committed citizen for the children. And I just want to say thank you, because it's the unsung heroes, and that's who you are. You represent someone who's been committed. And I say thank you to that. We know your phone number, so if we need to dial you down in Texas, we will. I also want to extend my condolences also to the superintendent. Thank you. On behalf of your loss and your family loss. Thank you. And just know that you're in our prayers. And I'll just leave it there.
Okay, Dr. McQuarrie, board information report.
Yeah, my sentiments. My sentiments are the same. Those have already been shared. Thank you, Cheryl and Cindy. Condolences. During my time on the board, I have focused on bringing into practice our Vision 2020. Most specifically, on preparing students for college, career, and civic engagement. In practice, this meant emphasizing our effort to expand our programs for world language acquisition, celebrating and expanding the primary language that students bring with them when they enroll in our schools, and expanding cultural competencies, ethnic studies, and reinvigorating civic education and community engagement. So much of my work in the district has been connecting with civic leaders, community organizations, business and corporations, and visiting schools in other countries and supporting our school-to-school partnerships. I just returned from a 9-day trip visiting schools in Korea, which turned out to be one incredible opportunity, and I'd love to share that with you, but no time. But if you are interested, please contact me. I got plenty of stories to share. This is a country that has a culture of kindness and compassion that is truly ubiquitous. In another effort closer to home, I've been working on sports diplomacy, connecting our students here in San Diego with students in Tijuana in a binational soccer tournament that is being jointly hosted by San Diego and Tijuana Sister City Associations. This binational soccer tournament is scheduled to be played on both sides of the border at Lazaro Cardenas Federal High School in Tijuana on August 15th and Balboa Stadium, San Diego High School on August 16th. Several Hoover High School soccer team players were selected to participate in this two-day binational soccer tournament. In addition to the scheduled games, we have just learned that professional U.S. soccer legend Landon Donovan, who holds numerous individual records in Major League Soccer for the United States national team and is regarded as one of the greatest U.S. men's soccer players of all time, he will be present during that final game played at Balboa Stadium on August 16th. This binational tournament is a first of a series of athletic events that will link our students and schools with other schools around the world. As we implement our Vision 2020 to prepare students for the academic, career, and civic challenges, soccer diplomacy, sports diplomacy, connecting our kids is critical to bringing about international friendship and promoting world peace. So, save the date, August 15th in Tijuana, August 16th at Balboa Stadium with Landon Donovan and us and our kids, and show up and support our effort to break down barriers and build bridges that connect the youth of America with youth from around the world through sports diplomacy and school-to-school partnerships.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Barrera.
Thank you, President Beiser, and that's really exciting, Dr. McQuarrie. Thanks for your leadership in putting that together. Just very briefly, Area Superintendent Sophia Frieri and I had the pleasure of attending the Wilson Middle School promotion last week, and not only was Principal Dave Downey and Vice Principal Brad Dennison there, but our principal, Jason Babineau from Hoover High School, was there to formally welcome the Wilson Tigers to become Hoover Cardinals next year. So it was really exciting, and I know the superintendent would be especially thrilled to know that the valedictorian who made a great speech was Joel Castro. Oh, yeah. Your former student at Central Elementary who did an amazing job. And Superintendent, again, I just join the other board members in thanking you for your courage and your willingness to share with us your personal loss. This entire community is there in support of you. And Cheryl, it's just been, you are an inspiration, to, I think, everybody who works in this district. And I think you always will be. And it's been an honor to be guided by you. And we know that you're going to still stay, connected with us. But thank you for your service to this community.
Thank you. That concludes board reports. Now we move on to item F1 on the agenda. Is there a motion? We have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, Superintendent Martin, please present the item. This is the public hearing, the second reading, and adoption of the 2018-19 College and Career Access Pathways Partnership Agreements with the San Diego Community College District for college courses offered on our high school campuses. Superintendent Martin.
Yes, exactly. This is the public hearing and the second read for you to take action, and it continues our partnership for career access pathways, college and career access pathways that we've worked on for several years, and this allows us to continue to do that work.
Thank you, ma'am. We have two speakers. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. Citizen, followed by Ms. Maxwell.
I forgot to mention that this was the third year of the CCAP agreement that's under AB 288, and the intent was to offer or expand the dual enrollment opportunities, which is exactly what we're doing. And as we reported in the first read, that we have a 55% increase in the number of students concurrently enrolled from 2016-17 to 17-18, and an 88% increase in all concurrent head counts since 2015-16, and 175% increase in high school students enrolled in community college classes on our San Diego Unified High School campuses between 15-16 to 17-18 due to the CCAP partnership that we've put before you tonight for approval.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is that document posted online? The one she just read from?
I believe she read it from the agenda.
Those are my notes.
It's in your notes? Could I have a copy of that? I didn't read that on the agenda item, and that's one of the issues that I was going to bring up, is that there should be a completion, there should be a report on the completion rates and the numbers, and I'd also like to see the classes broken down by race, all the numbers for the kids that are enrolling in these classes, because I looked at this agenda item a couple weeks ago. It was on really late at night, and I didn't see Lincoln on it. And this time I do see Lincoln, and I see Morse, but Morse has been on it for a long time. And what she just read, I would like to have a copy of. I'm making a request right now for that public document, because it would have been very helpful when I was reviewing this agenda item to have had those notes. I'd like a copy of those notes that she read today.
President Beiser?
Yes, ma'am.
The
Ms.
public
Green.
The public is entitled to see whatever documents were distributed by the board. Notes, generally speaking, are not public records and not subject to disclosure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Green, for the clarification.
I'll add that the information that I just read was also provided at the public board meeting, at the joint board meeting with the community college.
Yeah, it sounded like information that we had heard before at another meeting recently. Ms. Maxwell, you have 2 minutes.
I want to thank this item because it comes up every year. South of 8, 55 sections of community college classes planned for 1,745 students. North of 8, 120 sections of community college classes for 4,070 students that include administration of justice, banking, finance, communication studies, and marketing. The pattern keeps repeating itself. This is opposite of equity. This is absolutely continued inequity, and clearly because the superintendent already has a stellar evaluation and a 4-year contract extension, changing these numbers is not a priority with this board and these trustees. I commend the fact that we continually hear year after year that principals get an option. They don't know how to put it in their master schedule. They don't ask enough people for help. But once again, South of 8 schools continually, they love Black studies, Chicano studies, personal growth, and the remedial math and English that they get. But I can almost guarantee you that if we did a different type of marketing structure and had a different marketing plan, that those schools south of 8 would also jump at the chance to have administration of justice, banking and finance, communication studies, and marketing. There are children that have gone on to college from southeastern San Diego. They've come back to their community with those types of degrees, but it was not introduced to them because they have people on that campus that don't have the will nor the skill. So I'm once again requesting that these trustees, you ask your one employee, where's the equity? At what point are we going to ensure that even those children that get on buses, rather they're public or they're getting carpooled to other schools and they're getting access to the marketing, to the other great community college courses, the children that like to walk to school and ride their skateboards, when are we going to make sure that they have equity?
Thank you very much, public speakers. That concludes public speakers on this item. Any other board member comments or questions? Okay, please vote. And that passes 5-0. On to the board consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion passes 5-0. Now we move on to item H in the agenda, which are operational matters reserved for the board. H1 is an information item only. This is an advisory committee on review of the district progress on graduation standards and strategies report and recommendations. Introducing the item is Dr. Kyra Green and Mel Katz, co-chairs of the committee. Please, could you please come forward to report? You have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes.
Why, thank you. We'll try not to use all 10 of those minutes.
Okay, I apologize. I'm just trying to signal our new board action officer to start the clock.
On behalf of my co-chair, Mel Katz, myself, and the other members of this committee, we are honored to submit this report to you and to the community. Our committee was tasked with verifying that the graduation rate of 91% for the class of 2016 was in fact accurate and according to state standards, and we're happy to report that it was. But that's not all we were asked, that's not all we took on doing. We also took a look at understanding how the district was able to accomplish this graduation rate. And to address the question, we found, quite frankly, that it took a lot of hard work, that the district had to reconcile schedules, expand course offerings, reallocate resources to allow for the fact that some schools had not had access to these things in the past. There was a great deal of work and there was a great deal of learning, and we appreciated both as a committee hearing from the district, getting information, being able to really ask rigorous questions and be given data that helped us to understand that it was a process that took a great deal of work, that had a great deal of challenges, some frustrations, and that we were then able to have a conversation about who was not included in this success and why. And I think it took a great deal of courage on behalf of this district to open that as a conversation and to offer us an opportunity to offer recommendations about how this district can grow and improve moving forward. And those recommendations are listed in the report. I just want to end my segment of this by saying that I think I am grateful for the opportunity of working with a committee full of people who were both rigorous in their analysis, dedicated to finding the truth, committed despite their very difficult schedules and demands to being both thoughtful, rigorous, and committed to helping this district as it moves forward, as it does an assessment of both graduation and the effectiveness of education and how to improve the number of students seeing access to it. So that is our report. No?
This really was an amazing experience to be on this committee. I haven't been on a committee like this before, where we were brought together to, number one, verify the graduation rate. We verified the graduation rate, found that it was true at 91%. But then we also looked into that we did it, we being you, and the school district did it while putting in much tougher requirements for students with the A through G requirements. So we talked about A through G requirements, we verified the 91%, and then went forward looking at different recommendations on how to make sure that going forward, diplomas are even more meaningful and really matter as far as subject matter and what you know. The committee was an amazing committee led by Kyra Green, who already spoke, but there were 13 members of us with over 8 meetings at 8 o'clock in the morning with no good coffee here at the school district, and definitely no pastries. And we really had some very good discussions. I also want to really thank Richard Barrera and Sharon Whitehurst Payne, 2 board members who were at every one of the meetings and were really helpful. And then the staff of Cheryl Hibben, Ron Rohde, and Andrew Sharp, who really added so much to it. It really was an excellent experience, and I think you will see with this report that there were some very good recommendations made, but also a great review of what has happened. So we thank you for that experience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Green and Mel Katz. We appreciate your report and your work, your time. And maybe we'll have a breakfast potluck next time where everybody brings pastries and coffee. Thank you.
Thanks.
sufficiently won.
We have a couple speakers on this item, Citizen and Ms. Maxwell. Please come forward. You have 2 minutes each.
There's a glaring error in this report. One of the things I don't see in there is that students need quality teachers. And in this school district, there are no evaluations of teachers. What profession can have excellence if there is no evaluation of the employees? At Lincoln, we had students say in a public meeting that they know teachers that have been teaching for decades, and they're lousy teachers. They can't teach. And there are kids in an entire classroom, and they all think they're dumb. And they think they're dumb because they can't learn. But what they don't understand is that their teacher can't teach. They're not dumb. They have an ineffective, lousy teacher. So I read this report, and it says the district should ensure teachers are helped to develop and share understandings and critical knowledge and skills at each grade level. Teachers should have leadership that inspires and motivates. The San Diego Unified School District should monitor the extent to which professional development is supporting school personnel, evidencing effective classroom instruction. Wow. Skirted way, 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 way around the real issue, that there are not effective teacher evaluations. You get a job in this district, you've got a paycheck for the rest of your life. And nobody's going to call you on being a lousy teacher, even when the students stand up in a group of adults and say, we have a really lousy teacher, and nobody cares.
Ms. Maxwell, you have 2 minutes.
Cheryl, you're awesome. The report was very interesting, and I thank the committee for giving up their time. It was able to show that the class of 2016, and you consider the 3,783 students that left the cohort, almost half of those students went to charter schools as reported in 2016-2017. Worse, nearly half African-American students of the class of 2016 left the district, some going to charter and some leaving the area. Bottom line, with significant portion of the population of students leave the cohort, it is very difficult to determine what strategies, if any, affected the graduation rate. I do applaud the district for being honest, the report, and finally dealing with the reality that almost a third of the class of 2016 cohort exited from the district schools. I also know that there are some specific people on the committee that were not going to be glossed over the data and pretend like they achieved the 91% graduate simply by implementing A to G standards and offering online remediation courses. I think that this is a model and we can duplicate, and once again, I thank all those people that were on the committee that donated their time.
Thank you. That concludes our public testimony. I did want to recognize Dr. Joe Johnson. Could you please, thank you very much, who was also on the committee, as well as Dr. Julian Betts, Dr. John Brown, Peter Kallstrom, Dr. Constance Carroll, Bill Freeman, and as we heard, Dr. Kyra Green, Andrea Guerrero, Aucklander, Dr. Joe Johnson, Mel Katz, who presented, Dr. Pedro Nagora, and Matt Spathos. Thank you very much to everybody that was on this committee. And I'm really excited because not only does this committee do a lot of work on validating, but also in the spirit of the continuous cycle of improvement is helping us to focus on ideas and ways to move forward and improve and do even better in the future. Thank you. Any other board member comments or questions? Dr. Whitehurst-Payne.
I too want to offer my gratitude and congratulations to the committee. And it was a fascinating committee because it did assume that responsibility, but I don't think there was anyone on that committee who wanted to accept the status quo. Verify the data, but how can we make it better? And so we look upon this as kind of a springboard to moving out and doing better things. So I want to thank you for assuming that attitude and really working hard on this. And I know the trios, the Julian, Joe, and John, the 3 J's as they call themselves, actually put in a lot of extra time to finalize and refine the report. And I just want to thank the entire committee for all your hard work. I believe that San Diego City Schools will be better because we are taking those recommendations seriously, and we are moving forward with implementing them. So thank you, and we look forward to your help in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member comments or questions? Dr. Evans?
Yeah, I also really appreciate very much all the people on the committee and the great work that you did. And ever since I've been on the board, I know that it seems very simple, but it's very complicated to calculate a graduation rate. And there are many different methods locally, in the state, and federally. First of all, the reality that we have a mobile population. We have students moving out of the district, students moving into the district. And so I think what was good in terms of a sort of a fact-finding mission was not to just speculate or accuse or brag, but to say, okay, let's look at the reality of what's going on in terms of verifying this graduation rate. I also think that as you know, there are many factors, as has been mentioned about charter schools, and some students may have left and gone on to charter schools. I think what was not mentioned today was the fact that there are students who leave charter schools and come back to district schools, and we have a responsibility to make sure that they graduate too. And then, of course, our whole point was not just to graduate, but to have meaningful graduation. We've seen cases before where you can give some remedial courses and just slap it together and say, okay, you have a diploma, but that doesn't mean that the person is any more prepared to go out in the world and be successful. And I think the whole point is that it's not one factor. It's certainly a big issue that we did have increased requirements for graduation, but that's certainly not just the reason it happened. It was a very concerted group effort, particularly looking at every single student in terms of where they were at and what needed to be done to get them to this point of graduating. And as an offshoot of this, one thing that we've done is looking at our K-3 literacy rate, because we've been talking about, and as a freshman, a sophomore, and a junior, are you on track to graduate? But the reality is, in first grade and second grade and third grade, are you on track to graduate or not? Because you can go in and sort of identify who's going to have troubles going forward. And so we also, just as we made this big commitment several years ago with the A to G requirement and to increase the graduation rate, we've also made a commitment to increase the literacy, the proficiency rate by third grade. And right now, the kids in the cohort that we're looking at are going into second grade. So we have, just as we're working hard the last 2 years on the graduation rate, we're going to work very hard in the last 2 years to get all of these kids proficient. So there's a lot of really, really valuable information, and we're in no way satisfied with where we're at, but I think it's pretty significant. I don't think we're including here some recent statistics. I mean, one of the big ones was the fact that 88% of the students from, which has been quoted before, 88% of the students from Lincoln High School actually were going on to community college and four-year universities. I mean, that's a huge, huge turnaround and very different than from what we hear about just on the side. So once again, thank you very much.
Any other, Trustee Barrera?
Yeah, I want to echo the thank you to Kira and Mel and Joe and every member of the committee that and Cheryl that put in your time at 8 in the morning. I wish that we could have recorded the discussions, because I really think it was the best of what we see in this community when we bring together people, all of whom in one way or another have deep commitment to the success of young people in the community, but with diverse perspectives, and come together and really throw yourselves very deeply into understanding what's happening and pushing ourselves as a community for how we can do better. Frankly, the only way that we make progress in our district is when we go to the community and say, come and partner with us, push us, so that we can set ambitious goals for young people, but that we can really understand what are our challenges in getting to those goals and be very honest, as Ms. Maxwell talked about what we need to do to keep getting better. It's the way that we got to a 91% official graduation rate, by working with the community, by setting high goals and pushing ourselves to get better. But maybe, among many, but maybe the key takeaway, I think, from the committee's report is, what Ms. Maxwell alluded to, which is about a third of the students in our cohorts leave the district without graduating. And some of those students are going to charter schools. Some of those students are leaving because of mobility issues, probably in a large part impacted by the high cost of living in San Diego. But consistently, those students are behind at the point that they leave the cohort. They're behind the rest of their peers. And we can trace back to the earliest grades and see that they get behind and they stay behind. And those students are, of course, disproportionately students of color, low-income students, students with disabilities, English learners. So I think what the committee has done is come and said, we understand and appreciate and validate the work that's happened in the district to get to where we're at. But we have to challenge ourselves as a community to accept responsibility for all of our young people, including young people who leave the district. I think that the recommendations, one of the recommendations is that we regularly report out to the public the percentage of students who are leaving and where those students are at the point that they leave, in the same way, that we regularly report out our official graduation rate. And I think that, needs to be something that we do. But what I would ask the superintendent, and if there's consensus, from my colleagues, is to go through the recommendations in the report, come back to us at a point that you're ready, maybe sometime in the fall, and let us know how we can implement those recommendations. As superintendent, as you read the report, I know that many of those recommendations were familiar to you because they're, in fact, your LCAP strategies. Many of those recommendations are familiar to us as a board because, as you'll see when we get to that point in the agenda today, they are the priorities that we identify in the superintendent's evaluation. So I think what we can do is take the work of the committee and take the challenge of the committee as a community, accept responsibility for all of our students, including the students, the leavers, the students who leave our cohort, and say we need to commit ourselves to, say that all of those kids are going to be prepared for a meaningful graduation, even if they leave our district for a variety of reasons. The students that we should be retaining, and quite frankly, I think the data, in the report makes a very clear case that those students would be much better off staying in our district than leaving for charter schools. If you compare the success rate of students, who stay in our district versus the students who leave for the charters, so to the extent that they're, I know that there's been debate back and forth. Has it been a practice in our district that students are counseled to go to charters? I've been very honest, and I believe it's been, true for many years that there have been practices at the school level, at the site level, never a district policy, but at the site level, where it may be a counselor, it may be a principal who kind of say, boy, the student's so far behind that what we need to do is we need to refer that student, to an online charter school, because that's where they'll do credit recovery and that's where they have a chance to catch up. And I think we really need to push ourselves around that practice, because as we've done that, and as we've gotten stronger as a district, including developing capacity for many of those credit recovery strategies that are offered by charters, what we really see is that's a disservice, because those students and the innovation centers and all the work that the superintendent has led for the past several years, if we keep those students in our district, those students are going to be better off. And so how do we, push ourselves to do that? And then the students who are leaving for a variety of reasons, we don't want them behind because they've been behind since 3rd grade, and we can get them on track. So even if they're in 9th grade or 10th grade and they leave the district, wherever they go, they're going to be successful because we've taken on the responsibility to prepare them. And again, I think that's very, very consistent with the superintendent's LCAP strategy. So again, I thank the committee. I would ask the superintendent to follow up and respond to the recommendations. But that kind of overarching, recommendation from this committee that we take responsibility for all of our students, and that if 1/3 of our students are not included in our official graduation rates, we need to include them in what we report out publicly and the responsibility that we take. We need to retain those students where we can, and we need to prepare those students so that they're going to be successful even if they leave. So thank you to the committee members.
Thank you, Trustee Barrera. Dr. McQuarrie?
So I remember when we first gathered to discuss the graduation rate and to deal with the challenge that was made that we could not have achieved the miracle of over 90%. And I remember being in the room when we established the committee and set the charge, and we're looking forward to the report and the recommendations. And the recommendations are sound, and I think they're based on a real serious effort to dig into the facts that address the issue, the moral imperative of making sure that all students in this district have opportunity for a challenged and broad curriculum, that all students to succeed and all students will graduate. We've had a 90% plus graduation rate over the last 3 years, so this is not some new phenomenon. We know how to make it happen. We want to continue to make it happen. However, there is that 10%, and there are the students that leave and who go elsewhere or go to charters. And I'm encouraged by the report and the 4 recommendations that are being made, and look forward to staff's review of those and recommendations that come forward so that we can deal with this on a policy matter. It's interesting to know that when we compare our charter schools with district-managed schools in the same neighborhood, we're doing the same. There is not a benefit at this point. There are opportunities for choice, and I think some of these opportunities are made out of an effort to address a particular need and a particular issue. But I think overall, our schools and our district-managed schools do provide the choices that are being successful, and we can do better. I think the 4 recommendations give us this opportunity to take a look at what we're doing for all students, where do we need support and assistance, what can we change, what individual efforts can we make in individual schools and setting, and what are systemic. I also think we want to partner with our charters to see what we can do together, because these are our kids in our neighborhoods, and we need to work together to make sure that all students, no matter what school they go to, a charter school or a district school or private school, they have that opportunity to succeed, grow, and meet the challenge of being college, career, and civic ready. But thank you for the report.
Dr. Widers-Payne has additional comments.
My comments center around the fact that the committee focused on the fact that when you look at grade 9, that's where you get the drop-off, and we were saying we've got to have the data for middle school. But I really believe that the key is that we have to start looking throughout the spectrum. We have to begin preschool, preparing students. We have to do what Dr. Evans is talking about, ensure that every child pre-K through third grade and beyond is on track, because technically speaking, probably in the fourth, fifth, sixth grade, they've already dropped out. Their bodies are there, but if they're not succeeding, then they're just there until they can move on and do something else. So I think we've got to find a way to just cover the entire spectrum to prepare our children for graduation and for work and employment beyond that point. They're all of our children and every child at every grade level. So I do want to thank you all for stimulating this, and the superintendent has some ideas for bringing this all together, because we can't just say now we focus on graduation, we're focusing on K-3. We've got to do the whole gamut, and we have to have everybody on board doing a full court press to ensure that all of our children are doing their best. And I know that we can do it. So that's what we're going to do.
Thank you. On to item H2, which is another information item. This is the report on the superintendent's evaluation for 2017-18 year. We have two speakers on this item, Citizen and Ms. Maxwell. You have 2 minutes each.
So you're going to give her another contract for another 4 years, and that's a big mistake. You should give her a contract for 1 year because she hasn't been doing her job. The number one thing that concerns me is her inability to train employees so that they understand sexual abuse, child abuse, and that employees don't get a free ride just because they work for San Diego Unified School District. That's my biggest concern, is that employees do not understand their mandated reporters, they do not follow through, and they have this mentality of circling the wagons and protecting the reputation of the school, protecting their peers, and that's her greatest fault, is that she is not protecting the children of San Diego Unified School District from abusive educators. The kids are told that they're the liars. We have a coach at Mission Bay who shoved a kid, pushed him back, hit his head, and the coach is standing there saying, I didn't do it, but everybody saw him do it. And he was allowed to teach for years. He retired, thank God, but I brought you many, many, many situations like that, and nothing is done. Those kind of people shouldn't be in public education. He should have been fired immediately. Instead, he was allowed to stay and retire. Not acceptable. So let's see what she's going to do going forward. She made a lot of promises in 2013. She's done nothing unless she's been absolutely forced and pushed to do it. And even what she's done has been very, very little. So we'll see.
Ms. Maxwell, 2 minutes.
President Beiser, can I just apologize, Ms. Maxwell? I was remiss. I failed to recognize Ron Rohde, who also contributed greatly to this work on the graduation report. So sorry, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Rohde.
In the spirit of innovation, I would like the board trustees to consider, maybe next time, since you've already done it, why can't you have some of the employees do the evaluation? Like have a lottery for all the areas in the district do an eval. For example, principals, clerical, ed center people, custodians, etc. This would be an example of getting a true pulse of how people feel working for your one employee. You could really see if the work is hitting the mark or is just hitting the political agenda of this board. So I would love for us to be able to go and just send out a blanket email or even have some booths set up in different districts and different areas and let everybody tell you about how it is working for San Diego Unified under your one employee. The 19 org charts that they've had to endure, the wasting of $2.1 million for the FACES department. So I think that a lot of things need to be talked about as we move forward, and we say that we want to be more innovative, we want to be more transparent. Getting more voices of people that are boots on the ground and in the trenches every day, I think would be a really good step for San Diego Unified, since you've already guaranteed us 2022.
Thank you. At this point in time, I'll now read the report on the superintendent's evaluation for 2017-18. The Board of Education is pleased to recognize another great year of progress under the leadership of Superintendent Cindy Martin. Throughout the year, the superintendent and her staff have provided updates on district progress to the Board of Education and the public. And this month, the board conducted its annual review of the superintendent's performance in meeting the district's 6 LCAP goals and creating quality schools in every neighborhood under Vision 2020. The superintendent serves as the district's executive, instructional, and business leader with responsibility for ensuring the district's success at every level. The annual evaluation of the superintendent by the Board of Education is synonymous with the board's evaluation of the district's progress as a whole, including a self-evaluation of the board's own efforts to achieve these goals. In reviewing the superintendent's performance for the 2017-18 school year, relative to LCAP Goal 1, closing the achievement gap with high expectations for all, the board assigns an overall rating of accomplishing. Progress is evident as the district's 4th and 8th grade students outperformed other large urban school districts by demonstrating significant grade-level gains in both reading and mathematics on the 2017 National Assessment for Educational Progress, or NAEP, also known as the Nation's Report Card. The Council of Great City Schools recognized San Diego Unified's efforts, stating, quote, "The gains are evident of and testimony to the serious academic work the school district has been doing over the last several years," end quote. Progress is also evident in Lincoln High School's improvement in the UC A through G completion with a C or better. 88% of the class of 2018 is going to college next year. 88%. And its 6-year WASC accreditation was successful. The superintendent's leadership, along with senior management's presence at Lincoln each week and targeted coaching, have contributed to the beginning of a turnaround at Lincoln we have not seen before. 9th grade students at Lincoln High School successfully participated in an elective ethnic studies course that will expand district-wide into U.S. History ethnic studies courses and a World History social justice course. As the superintendent and staff have shared throughout the 2017-18 school year, LCAP reports, significant progress is also being made to close the achievement gap for students with disabilities, English learners, African American and Latino students, student-centered coaching, differentiated instruction, critical concepts and proficiency scales, along with the implementation of an early warning system to identify at-risk students and integrated multi-tiered systems of support for all contributing to closing the achievement gap. For LCAP Goal 2, access to broad and challenging curriculum, the board assigns an overall rating of accomplishing. Progress is evident in the expansion of access to college classes district-wide, including opportunities for high school students to earn college credits through City, Mesa, and Miramar community colleges, and the UCSD extension. The district's partnerships with local businesses such as Raytheon, Qualcomm, SeaWorld, the San Diego Workforce Partnership, Northrop Grumman, and many others has provided opportunities for students to participate in real-world project-based learning that enhances their academic coursework. The Strategic Arts Plan has stayed on track, and the creation of the Visual and Performing Arts Foundation this year ensures sustainability of the district's commitment to arts experiences for every student in every school. In reviewing LCAP Goal 3, Quality Leadership, Teaching and Learning, the board assigns an overall rating of accomplishing. Significant progress and positive impact is evident in the improvement of recruiting staff members who reflect the diverse backgrounds of our students and in offering early employment contracts to high-quality, diverse candidates in hard-to-staff areas such as math, science, and special education. Principal leadership development is evident at the district's high-quality site administrators who reflect the district's commitment to knowing each and every student's needs and building quality schools in every neighborhood. Excellence in leadership is recognized through our CUSN Awards, given annually to sites exemplifying Vision 2020 and the 6 LCAP goals. Significant progress has been made on the E3 teacher evaluation in partnership with SDEA and the long-awaited teacher pipeline for district students to become teachers in the district that they grew up in, which is now developing at Mesa College. LCAP Goal 4, Positive School Environment, Climate, and Culture. The board assigns an overall rating of developing. The superintendent continues to make gains in improving support services for students. Counseling services, restorative practices, trauma-informed care, and student wellness now offer reliable supports to students that contribute to overall school success. Collaboration among departments is evident across the district as it ensures the needs of the whole child are being met. Youth advocacy included a variety of supports for all students to thrive in inclusive environments. Students' rich diversity and unique identities are reflected in the curriculum with a focus on historical and social events leading to today's current climate and culture. Over 9,000 school site staff and administrators were trained in the Fair Education Act and have received Out for Safe School badges to create a welcoming and safe school environment for all of our children. School police services and district leaders have provided timely responses to safety concerns of students, staff, and community. In reviewing LCAP Goal 5, Parent and Community Engagement, the board assigns an overall rating of accomplishing. Significant improvement has been made in parent and community relationships with schools and the district as a whole. The foundational work started by the FACE team provides the structure for continued implementation and expansion of these same services in other departments, but yet in the same capacities. A variety of events and opportunities were offered on high-impact home strategies and implementing literacy strategies at home for parents. The Neighborhood Schools and Enrollment Options team has made significant improvements to the choice process and customer service to families enrolling in district schools. The pilot that focused on improving attendance resulted in significant improvement at 7 schools that achieved greater than a 5% increase in attendance. An identification of best practices in addressing chronic absenteeism, such as engaging families as partners, personalizing communication, recognizing and celebrating improvements is evident. In reviewing LCAP Goal 6, well-orchestrated district-wide support services and communications, the board assigns an overall rating of accomplishing. The district has cultivated and sustained valuable community partnerships with entities including Say San Diego, the Center, National Conflict Resolution Center, the Anti-Defamation League, and many, many others that provide mutual support. The superintendent has successfully improved the relationships with our bargaining units, and communication with the board and public is frequent and open. While there's always room to improvement, we recognize we're headed in the right direction. Progress has been made on marketing the district's programs, helping families select the school that best fits their student needs. In conclusion, the board is extremely proud of the district's continuing progress under Superintendent Martin's leadership. We're certain that the district is heading in the right direction to completely close the achievement gap and that all students will experience a meaningful graduation that prepares them for college, career, or community. We look forward to working with Superintendent Martin in bringing Vision 2020 to a close and working with her to develop our new Vision 2030 that will take us into the next decade of educational excellence for all of our students and families in San Diego. Also, the board has, in addition to this, there are other focus areas for 2018 which are articulated in the document, which is public, as well as other specific LCAP goal information that is publicly provided. So that concludes the information report on H2. Now I'll open it up for board member comments or questions. Any comments or questions at this time? Dr. McQuarrie?
I think the report says it all. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other board member comment.
I'll just add in. I mean,
okay,
yes,
Dr. Evans.
The report certainly does say it, and I just want to emphasize one of the things it says, which is we are evaluating the superintendent based on the performance of the district as the chief executive. So it's not simply a personal evaluation of how much we like or not like particular details. It's what sort of results are being produced. And I think it's very clear this year and the last couple of years, now that she's been here 5 years, we're starting to see the fruits of a lot of the things that were put in place the first couple of years in terms of graduation rates, which we've discussed, in terms of the arts, in terms of many other programs in the district.
Dr. Whitehurst-Payne.
I think that I would concur with Dr. Evans, and I would also say that we don't have a lot of time to just keep wasting time. And I think we're on the trajectory to make a real difference. And we're putting in place systems that will pass beyond us. We'll probably be in our graves or wherever, but hopefully in the future we can put some things in place that regardless to who sits here or what student comes through, they can reap the benefits of the plans that we are putting in place for students. That's what I'm excited about.
Thank you. Any other comments? Dr. McQuarrie?
I just want to elaborate a bit. It is considered a best practice, and we are unique in the fact that we are linking our superintendent evaluation to the LCAP, so that it's the progress we make in the LCAP and how well that superintendent carries that out, which is a major aspect of the report. We are doing quite well. We have more to do, and we know that the superintendent's in the right position with the right leadership staff to make that happen.
Thank you. I believe that concludes our conversation and information report on item H2, the superintendent's evaluation. On to item H3, which is an action item. This is the fourth amendment to the employment contract for district superintendent of San Diego Unified School District. This is an action item extending the superintendent's contract for 2 additional years. Do I have a motion on the item?
President Bizer, I'd like to make a motion. In terms of the contract, one is what you've just stated, which is extending the contract for 2 additional years. It's currently at 2020 and going on to 2022. And the other is the addition of an equity clause, which basically says that the superintendent will be treated the same as other non-represented management in terms of any cuts in pay, any furloughs, or any increases in pay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go to public testimony. Citizen and Ms. Maxwell, you have 2 minutes each.
It's a mistake to extend your contract. You should leave it at 2020. Let's see how this next year goes, because she can't seem to manage a budget. Every year you come forward and you have a budget deficit. This year it's what, $41 million? Something's not right. It's her job to be bringing this in with the money that they have, and still you guys are cutting people's jobs, giving them furlough days, and that all comes on her head. You should not have extended this contract. It's a big mistake.
Ms. Maxwell, you have 2 minutes.
The budget document of 179 pages, I think page 11 and 12, with the heading unrestricted and restricted item A6, B1E, and B2E, and 3 should have been enough to go ahead and leave her at the non-extension. Student served loss is 6,322 less to serve. $232 million more is not enough to serve 6,322 less students. 6,322 lost students is a loss of $63 million. We continually not pay attention to loss. Some of the reason that children are leaving is because they're not getting what they need on campus, because retaliation is so real under this regime, under this superintendent. When you speak up, when things are seen, I think we have a new PSA. See something, say something. But when you see something and you say something, the retaliation is so real that you cower and you go out on stress leave. And so the issue and the child are still left there on campus, and then you have the quality assurance covering up. So I completely understand that you're okay with it, but people in this community, this city, they're gonna wake up. And when they wake up, oh boy, you just wait and see.
That concludes public speakers on this item. Please vote. That passes 5-0. On to item H4. This is an action.
Thank you.
This is an action item, the adoption of the California School Boards Association Board Policies, Administrative Regulations, and Exhibits, and authorization of annual payment to CSBA for Gamut online maintenance. Is there a motion on item H4? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. We have a second. Any board member comments or questions? Okay. Dr. McQuarrie?
This is hard and essential work to codify and coordinate our our policies with those with CSBA. It does give us a lot of benefits. It has been in the past and will continue to do in the future. I know we have more codification to do, and the quicker we get it done, the better. Thanks.
As a former member of delegate to CSBA for this board for many, many years, I really want to appreciate all the members of the board that currently serve as delegates to the CSBA, Dr. McQuarrie, Trustee Barrera, and Dr. Whitehurst-Payne. Thank you for your service and representing us and the children in this important statewide organization. Please vote.
2 out of those 3 own that.
And that motion carries 5-0. We move on to section I, which are district operations. Item I-1, this is a personnel update. This is on the impact of 2018-19 budget reductions. Superintendent Martin, please present this information item.
Thank you, President Beiser. As you might remember, the board asked for a regular monthly personnel update. You asked for that during one of our regular meetings, and so tonight, you would like that provided throughout the 2018-19 school year. So we're previewing that tonight. This is the first version of that monthly update presented by our Executive Director of Human Resources, Acacia Thede.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. So tonight, as the superintendent shared, we have our first of a series of monthly updates. The purpose of our first meeting today is to talk about the impacts of the layoff and to provide you with a regular update on recruitment and retention of quality staff. This item, as the superintendent shared, is for your information and no action is needed tonight. What I'm going to be showing you is an update to the chart that I shared in our last meeting at the end of June. And what it's going to show you is the change in the number of employees noticed to what I shared with you was our projected impact on July 1st, and then what we have currently as of July 15th. All right, and here's the chart. So, as a reminder, the positions eliminated listed in the far left column were not directed by the district as a way to solve the budget. Rather, they were results of the decisions made at the school site and department level. As part of the budget development process, school sites and departments made choices in January and February of this year in order to best serve the needs of students and families. When there are limited resources available, the schools made some difficult choices to ensure the students' needs are met. And so, as we shared before, while there were some eliminations of positions, there were also a number of added positions. And so what you see is a reflection of adding and removing some positions. Of the 156 notices sent, as of July 1st, we had predicted only 37 employees would actually be laid off and not be with us. Since that time, we have reduced that number to only 31 employees. And how we've done that is that since the time that I reported to you last at the end of June, we've had retirements, we've had resignations, we've had leaves of absences and separations, as well as some of those new positions that I mentioned that were part of the original reason for the notification have now been built into the budget and people were able to be placed in those assignments. What you'll see here is that there have been no changes in AASD and in OSS. However, with the OSS positions, we've reached an agreement with the bargaining unit so that those 4 employees are able to test and may be placed in other positions that are in a similar job class to the work that they were doing before. In the OTBS classifications, 3 of the employees have been recalled into similar or former classifications. The non-rep and confidential positions you see are places where we had actually eliminated positions. In the para group, we are working on, and you'll see in a couple slides, we are working on a process to offer those employees positions. What's been happening with the pair group, since many of them are off calendar, they are not always available to immediately accept the offer of reemployment, and so for them, it's just taking longer because they have a contractual ability to have some time to think and decide. And so you'll see that we've just got about 15 days, and that's less work days. And so there are offers out for these assignments, but I'm not able to report to say that they've yet been filled because we are waiting for people to make some decisions. And then in the SDEA group, we've been able to offer reemployment to 3 individuals as we have had positions become available. I'd like to update you on some of the successes. So their board had originally asked for an update just on the impacts of the layoff, but I'd also like to take a moment to share some really exciting things. Some of them were mentioned in the superintendent's evaluation, but they are a result of a lot of hard work from the staff in the school site at the district level. And so I've reported to the board on several different occasions. Our focus is on ensuring each teacher has a highly qualified teacher. And because there is a teacher shortage that does exist, San Diego Unified has had to work very hard and be very proactive in ensuring that we are not susceptible to that teacher shortage. And so to that end, we work to offer early employment to people who are in hard-to-staff credential areas. This year, we were able to offer 30 early contracts in the area of BCLAD Spanish, BCLAD Mandarin, math, science, special education for both mild, mod, and mod severe. We filled approximately 390 positions through post and bid, which is our internal transfer process for existing SDEA members. We have hired, since I last spoke to you, nearly 250 people. And so that is amazing work. And what that is that takes intense planning. It takes a lot of dedication. I've shared with the board and with the community before that we interview on a weekly basis. And so all of the pre-work that we do to push the button when it's time to hire is why you see that really great number of being able to hire that many people after we finish all of our internal contractual processes, which leaves us only 89 remaining vacancies within our certificated staff. We're well on our way to filling those, and we are ready and very excited to start the school year. For classified employees, we are repeating some strategies that we used last year, where we have, for the past couple of years actually, offered some specialized hiring events where we help school sites and departments coordinate hiring. As you all know and are aware, classroom assistants often have high turnover because they are oftentimes part-time positions, and people who accept those assignments often try to move or get a position that allows them to be near their children. These are often working parents, and they often take advantage of different opportunities, sometimes closer to home. So there's a significant amount of mobility in our classroom assistant classifications that we have listed here. And so each August, whether it's in this district or any other public agency, any other school district, you'll see that there's a significant amount of turnover for classroom assistant classifications. And so what we've done is we have created opportunities to have specialized events that allow us to, rather than have each school site calling an eligible list of employees and making hundreds of phone calls to schedule individual interviews, we coordinate the interviews for all of the managers and for the employees. It allows everyone to come to one location to be interviewed by the school sites who they wish to interview for and to potentially be selected. And so that process in itself allows the candidates and the school sites to be much more efficient as they're preparing to start the school year and to find a good fit for candidates. So we're doing that for the classifications that I have listed here: our special education assistants, our special education technicians, special education behavior technicians, child development assistants, there's 2 different groups, and our campus security assistants. So we are, with our classified employees, also very excited for the start of the school year. These events have been very successful in the past, and we're excited for the beginning of the school year. So that's my update for this month.
Thank you very much. Any board member comments or questions? Trustee Barrera?
Yeah, thanks, Acacia. I was particularly glad to see on the special education assistants. I know that was a challenge for us last year. I know we're going to have the hiring events coming up in August, but how are you feeling about our ability to be fully staffed when the school year begins?
So I'm feeling very good.
Yeah.
Of everything that is in my control.
Yeah.
I feel very good at the work that we're doing to recruit, to get the word out to people, to move people into positions. So procedurally, structurally, I feel like the team has designed a number of seamless systems that will allow people to come into the work.
Great.
So we're feeling very good about this.
Thanks.
My question is, what are your backups? What happens if you find that you have some schools still on staff? What are your plans to ensure that you can quickly get someone in there?
So our backups are to have our substitute, our hourly employees work. So what we've been doing is we continually hire throughout the year for hourly substitute employees, and so that's our backup for any position, whether it's a person on a long-term leave or whether it's a vacant position. So those are our backups to start the school year. And what we do with school sites is we work with them for the most part to try to get the same person coming every day, not a revolving door of substitute employees while we're continuing the recruitment process.
Great report, terrific effort. Are there any generalizations you can make about the 89 in terms of job classifications and location?
They're spread out across the district. So they're classroom teachers, they are counseling positions, there's some support staff that we're hiring for nursing right now. So they're spread off within school sites and district level staff as well.
Okay, seeing no other comments or questions, thank you very much. Really appreciate your work here. Thank you very much. Now we move on to item I2. This is an action item. This is the human resource recommendation for position description revisions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the item. Let's go to public testimony. Francine Maxwell, you have 2 minutes. Followed by Citizen, you have 2 minutes.
When the district is projecting a $54 million budget deficit, I'm not sure why the board is looking to approve over $60,000 annually raises for the executive level positions, including Chief of Staff, Executive Director of School Innovation, Integrated Youth Services, Executive Director of Quality Assurance, who doesn't even have a degree, is going to get another raise. And I'm sure there's going to be another org chart. And when a board trustee says that it's not personal, it's tied to something, he's being disingenuous, because we can clearly pull from District Deeds and the many reports that District Deeds have done over the years over friendship and personal relationships. Carmina Duran does not have a degree, but she has a position because she is friends with your one employee. Simple and plain as that. She was recruited from someone because she was friends with someone. There's no one except for in San Diego Unified that will be getting her type of raise that does not have a degree. So personal relationships play into it. So you're being extremely disingenuous when you say that we look at everything from a business mind standpoint. No. You're looking at things towards a shoot from the hip, personal relationships. These are people that I've known from my past that I go back because I'm in charge and I pull them up because I can, because I'm not being questioned. We can go ahead and throw in that there may be a little bit of qualified in there, but the friendship is what's holding that. And for you to continually allow her, your one employee, to bring us into more deficit. Someone asked me how much pipes has been done when the signs are saying, excuse us for having such a brown lawn in the front of the school, but the back of the school, the lawns are perfectly green. How much plumbing has gone in for our children where oh, I forgot, we're getting a new bond measure, but we already had bond measures for the other schools that didn't get their plumbing corrected. So let's once again sit and have a retreat together so that we can clear up all the misconceptions and we can tell the whole truth.
Thank you. Citizen, you have 2 minutes. All right, Superintendent Martin, please present the item.
Thank you, President Beiser. I also have our Executive Director of Human Resources here with me to add detail if you had further questions, but specifically I'd like to add that we conducted a review of our position descriptions within our non-represented management classifications, and in looking at those between February and July 2018, the result is what you see here in this item, to make changes both to duties assigned in the positions that are listed as well as the salary grades, and this is in relation to ensuring that our employees are fairly compensated and to be in compliance with gender equity laws.
Thank you. Board member comments or questions? Okay, seeing, Dr. Whiters-Pate.
Just one comment. We are a part of the United States of America, and there are some federal and state laws, and we as an institution must follow those guidelines also. And so, okay.
I'll just add, we're following the guidelines, but I also agree with the laws about fair pay and equal pay based on gender.
Any other board member comment? Dr. McQuarrie?
Just to elaborate a bit, so not only making it fair and equitable, it's also a protection against lawsuits where we could be vulnerable. It could cost us much more than the $66,000 that's being presented here tonight.
Yeah, sorry. Trustee Barrera?
Chime in, and we have had a discussion, an important discussion, which to me may be the most important piece of this, which is putting structures in place so that we prevent in the future, being in a situation where we're not complying with equal pay laws. I mean, I think everybody on this board, and certainly the superintendent, as Dr. Evans said, we agree with the laws, and we don't ever want to be out of compliance again. And so I think making the corrections, looking backwards, but really even more importantly, looking forward to make sure that we've got clarity in the way that we compensate our positions, and we shine a light on it, and we talked about things like an annual review.
Yes.
I think we thank the superintendent for putting a structural solution to this going forward.
Yes.
Okay, please vote. And that motion passes 5-0 for gender pay equity.
I need to make
Superintendent Martin needs to report out now.
Thank you. Upon approval of that item and some of the structural changes that went along with it, including some position description revisions, I have 2 announcements to make of appointments based on that item. One is the Executive Director of Labor Relations and Assistant General Counsel, Jessica Falk-Michelli, and I'd like to introduce you to our new Chief Human Resources Officer, Acacia Thede.
Thank you. Congratulations to all. May we always continue to pay female employees the same as male employees. On to item I3, which is an action item, renaming of John Muir School to John Muir Language Academy. Is there a motion? We have a motion. Is there a second? Seeing no comment or question, Dr. Evans?
One quick comment, Superintendent. Since it's being renamed to John Muir Language Academy, I'm wondering if Language Academy is still going to be Language Academy, or if they're going to be Pedro Fevrier.
I think they're going to be the Language Academy.
Okay.
Okay, please vote. That motion passes 5-0. On to item I4, which is a public hearing and an action item. This is a public hearing on the consolidated application and resolution for funding categorical aid programs for the 2018-19 school year. We have a motion. Is there a second? Seeing no comments or questions, please vote. That motion passes 5-0.
President Beiser, may I interrupt? I forgot to make a correction to the record when I read management appointments earlier. I misread somebody's name, and I reversed the hyphenated last name of one of our new vice principals. I said Melissa Wood Roy, and it's actually Melissa Roy Wood.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Just needed to correct that record.
Great.
Thank you.
Now we go on to the superintendent's consent agenda. We have item J24, 48, 49, and 28. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, and a second. We have Citizen. You have Citizen is speaking on 3 items. You have 4 minutes.
She left.
Citizen, you have 4 minutes. Okay, on to Trent Biggs, speaking on item J28. You have 2 minutes.
Just a quick thank you for putting the Tubman Joint Use Park on the agenda. You've been very responsive to my emails, and your staff has been following up. I know Cindy Martin has also worked on this for quite some time. So we look forward to it being completed in a timely manner, and we look forward to very much to enjoying it. A few people have expressed some interest in making suggestions on a few minor details. I don't know if there's scope for that, and we'll be asking the community group I'm part of will be interested in hearing more about whether minor modifications to the design are possible.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next speaker on non-agenda public testimony, J28, Saul Ammerling. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I would like to also speak on that one item and agree with everything that Trent has said. I'm chair of the Mesa Colony Community Group, and we have members in Mesa Colony who have been working on this project actually since the mid-'70s, trying to get a public park set up way before it was the Tubman School. In any case, we appreciate finally getting to this point, and we want to thank you for your approval, hopefully. And again, there may be a couple of little questions that we would like to have clarified, but that's down the road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes public speakers on the consent agenda items 24, 48, 49, and 28. Any board member comments or questions? Okay, I would like to mention to the 2 gentlemen in the audience that after we vote, if it is approved, then there are community input processes, and I believe you have contact information with folks in the school district staff that are a part of the development staff process. With that, please vote. Please vote. That passes. Those items pass 5-0 unanimously. Thank you very much. Any other non-agenda public speakers? Seeing none, I'll call this meeting adjourned. The next regular meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 4th, 2018 at 5 p.m. We are adjourned.
Congratulations, Cheryl Ward, for your years of service, your last meeting.